Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's AI in Focus, where we focus on AI. You will note this week we have a new Chad clone, Steve Polito, impersonating Chad this week. Steve, how's it going?
Louis, it's great to finally meet you.
For me as well. For me as well.
I'm gonna keep using that same joke until people call me out on it.
All good. So, let's see. So for this week, let's just to catch up our viewers. First of all, I've been out for a few weeks, so I'm excited to get back into things. Over the last several weeks, we've had some really exciting developments. So we've been working on ReadySetGo, our sprint assistant discovery agent that helps you think through your particular idea and helps you develop it, just like you might do with a full discovery sprint with Thoughtbot. Over the last several weeks, we've launched an alpha. And so we've started getting real world users and getting feedback from them. And that's been super exciting for me. It's always the most exciting part of a project when you finally put it in front of someone that's never seen it and like see what they take away from it, what holes they find, et cetera, et cetera. And I know, Steve, you've been working diligently over the last many weeks as part of that, but so has a large part of the Thoughtbot team. We've really had a pretty big growth of the number of people that are contributing to it.
Yeah, it's been really exciting, and yeah, we've done a lot just in a very short amount of time. I mean, if you look back at streams from probably even like 2 months ago, like I'm sure the interface and the behavior was radically different compared to what it is now. So it's exciting, and yeah, and not that I didn't have faith in our team, but I was like pretty skeptical that we would be where we are right now in the short amount of time that we've been doing this pivot. Like I figured we'd get to it at some point, but I was really
Yeah.
happy to see how much we got done in a very short amount of time. So yeah, it's been really exciting to be part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And for those who haven't been with us that long, when we started Ready Set Go, it was the platform we started building was to build an app from the ground up using Rails, using Thoughtbot's best practices, and then yeah, roughly a month ago, 2 months ago, not sure. It's like not as far back as I might think.
Yeah.
We were like, you know what? Let's switch to the sprint side because we're like, it's very difficult to build an app if you don't have a good, like if you haven't done all the work beforehand to think it through, to think about, what's the critical path, who are the competitors and all that. And so, as we were at that point of saying, okay, well, we have an agent that kind of builds code, but it sort of builds it arbitrarily. And we're like, we need to give it information on what to build. And so then that essentially exploded into like, well, what we really want them to do is go through a whole sprint. We want the user to go through a whole sprint, think about everything, and then all that information, all the artifacts that will be created from that would then be fed into the app builder. So for now, though, we are heavily focusing and solely focusing, I should say, on the discovery sprint. I think that's all I've got for right now. I thought we might do just like a little quick walk through a couple steps, and then we'll talk about what we're going to be working on this session, which is prompt caching. Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of cost in going through an extensive conversation with the LLM. All right, I'm going to bring it onto the screen. So here we are. This is the main interface. So here, Steve and I are building a gift card tracking app, and we're just going to go through a couple steps here. So it asked us what's our idea. We said an app to help keep track of gift cards. And now the agent asks if you've got any notes, research, or interviews, paste them in and to ground what we do. What's the personal origin story here? Did you personally lose money on a gift card, or did you watch someone else do it? Steve, this was your idea. Do you want to guide this part, or do you just want to talk through and I'll type?
Yeah, I can type. I can
Okay,
type
go for
from
it.
here. And also just a little inside baseball for our audience here. I did actually try to build a gift card tracking app, so it didn't work out. I could have used ReadySetGo to help me, um, plan everything. So, this is, it's kind of meta for me to be doing this. Yeah, what information I'm putting into the sprint is, like, pretty relevant to me and legitimate here, so personal origin story, I don't know. Well, I don't know, I always lose track of them
Same here.
and forget yeah, this is a real problem, though, like, we gotta figure this out. Once Ready, Set, Go is complete, maybe this is the next thing we'll work on.
All right, so here the problem isn't really losing the card, it's that the value quietly expires or sits forgotten until it's too late to use. The card becomes invisible the moment you put it away. That's real truth. What does your current system look like? Drawer full of physical cards, a notes app, nothing at all.
Yeah, I'll put some stuff in here, so notes and just a drawer full of cards. Probably like everyone else in the world.
So yeah, so there's a notes app as a workaround. There's friction of keeping it updated. So now here we say it's pointing out existing players, still card, gift, and balance. What makes you think there's still a gap worth filling, right? And so this is part of that challenging the idea, which I think is so important for any idea that you have. Like push back on it. Like what's 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 already out there, and this really shouldn't be oh, this already exists, my idea is done. It should
Mhm.
really help you focus in on what can I do that bigger players maybe aren't doing or that existing players aren't doing. What's going to make it special, and that can have such a huge impact on what you start building from day one. um
Exactly.
how do you want to answer this particular one?
Let's see here. So have you tried any of them, or does that feel like something you build your own regardless? I
And while you're typing that, I'm gonna bring this window over a little bit, and I'm gonna bring a view into a separate window. uh
oh yeah, we might be competing for the mouse here. I'll let
oh,
you
I
drive
see.
for a
Okay,
second.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Let's see here. I'll just say something quick. I haven't tried any of them.
Maybe like I'm afraid of the cost, or
Something like that.
sure. Hopefully it'll say like, well, why isn't so you're not just solving track my gift cards. The app needs to feel like lightweight, low commitment, probably free, or a clear one-time cost and simple enough that the data feels like yours. Are you thinking physical cards or both? I'm gonna go ahead and say both.
Absolutely right
I'm
answer.
gonna try to type both. You would think. Also, I think because I started scrolling, I have there we go. Um, yeah, what's fuzzy for you? Well, actually, I think maybe we can pause right here. Like you can see it's going through the different items. At some point, it will say, okay, cool, we've done enough kickoff talk. Now let's start learning about the customer. Let's work out a problem statement, et
Yep.
cetera, through all these things on the left. But the thing we want to focus on is that each of these messages and like look at all this part. And so far, our feedback from live users is that the process has taken about 2 hours to go through the whole thing. I've tried it myself and I haven't timed it, but it's also I just want to put out there like it's really interesting. Like I've found so much value even only getting through like the first 3 or 4 steps here. So actually getting through all of them is pretty exciting to me. So, but let's take a look at like what's happening behind the scenes. So also, I'm not sure why it is asking me to apply for changes or deploy. I wonder if someone just pushed something, but like,
Oh, that could be it.
let's see.
It's an investment day for those watching, so our
Okay.
team is hard
All
at
right.
work.
It's hanging out over there. So I'm just going to go to full screen and ignore that for right now. So if we look at our, like, let's take a look at our last message in our chat. And if we look at the actual message, just to see what it was, right? So that's tracking with its last message. And the things we want to focus on, and Steve and I have not worked on caching before, so this is going to be a little bit of discovery as we go. But one of the things that RubyLLM 1.15 provides, and that's the version we're on now, we're one minor version back from the latest release, is that we can look at the cost of an individual message. For here we see 0.03, but we can also look back at the cost of the total chat. All right, we'll just do and we can see we're at 20 cents, which is not like a huge amount, but also we're barely into it, and
Right.
nothing potentially is being cached. And I think one of the things to remember is that, right, as this message goes on over and over, I believe like the entire conversation is being pushed back and pushed, like keeps coming forward. And so let's take a look now. We're going to take a quick look at the RubyLLM guides for caching, and then we're going to point Claude at it and see what it comes up with. Steve, anything before we like start looking at this?
That was a good summary, and yeah, I mean, this is a new problem space for me. In the past, I've worked on a chatbot before, and I was running into not so much rate limits, but what are they called? Like, it's rate limits, but it's really like token limits. So like
Like
the
token
more,
usage.
yeah, and the issue was, and this was we were using OpenAI, not Anthropic, but I think the same principles apply. So in general, like you need to give the conversation state. So there's a few ways to do that. And the way I was doing it originally was you would just send the entire history back every time you sent a new message.
Mm-hmm.
There's advantages and disadvantages to like all these different strategies. But I mean, one advantage to that is like all the context is there, so nothing is lost. The disadvantage though is that
Mm-hmm.
it's just more expensive because you're using more tokens. And then in the case of the application I was working on, we were actually hitting rate limits because the amount of tokens being sent per minute was hitting that threshold. And obviously, once as the conversation grows, it's going to be, I don't know, exponential, linear, something like that, where it's just going to be, you're going to get stuck always hitting rate limits. So that's not quite what we're solving for here, although I think it does touch upon it.
Yeah, and I think if I remember, did you write? You had a blog post on this one, yeah?
Yeah.
And it was like don't let one user, like a power user, like lock out the whole system for everyone.
Exactly. So what I'm wondering here is, because we're talking about caching, so one, I mean, we're looking at it from a cost perspective, which is obviously very important for us because just from a revenue standpoint, we want to make sure these conversations aren't costing too much money. But also, I'm hoping it'll have another side effect, which is it will reduce the amount of tokens we're using, and then rate limiting won't be as much of an issue.
That makes sense. Also, just for a brief moment, I'm gonna take this off screen for a second because I want to look at some of the settings. I wanted to see which model we're using, and I know that's in the environment variables. Give me a second here. Okay, here we go. Okay, it looks like we don't have anything specifying it, so I think we're falling back to the default model. Probably in the RubyLLM initializer. Cool, which is then pulling it from our ReadySetGo YAML. Okay. So I do believe then that we're using Sonnet 4.6.
Yeah, for the primary one, it looks like.
Because I'm not, I could be wrong here, but I'm not seeing like
It's probably stored on a message, right? Like if you go back
Actually,
to
oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, let's bring that back.
Railway.
Let me switch back to the console and bring that. Yeah, that's true. If we did we lose our console? How
Yeah,
did
it
we
looks
lose our
like it.
console?
You might need to want prepend it with bin rails. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Sonnet.
Yeah, Sonnet. Okay. Awesome.
It's also pretty cool.
So it is. I mean, it's a very efficient model, but still, like there is room. And if we did find that we needed to go to like an Opus model, that would then, I think, really, really drive the need to keep this under control. So let's jump back to Anthropic prompt caching here. So it points out it can dramatically reduce costs on long conversations. And so they're creating a system block and saying cache it. And then we're creating a new chat instance. We're adding the system message to it. And then we're doing a chat ask. And then this is interesting though, because here they say um, they're also providing the cache control, which I see. They're just saying on the system prompt cache that and on that cache it. So that's one thing. And then they do point out that you could build a payload using raw content and put in the cache control here. And then same with tool definitions. So this is interesting. We could try putting that on our tools and seeing what happens there. And then we're on to custom headers. And we're out of their caching. Okay, so actually, Steve, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but we could either try looking at like ReadySetGo running on my system, obviously, because if we're going to be making code changes, we can do that. But the interesting thing that I couldn't figure out was that for some reason, like I had a really long chat, but I was getting like zeros for my costs, and that was really puzzling to me. So maybe we try it. I don't know. What are your thoughts? We could play around with this in the console and see like how these things work. We had talked about like jumping in and having Claude read this and then like make some suggestions. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, my inclination is point Claude to this and maybe some of the issues that are open in GitHub for if we feel comfortable like sharing those on stream. If not, it's all good. But we could at least share it. This link
Sure.
and maybe just say like we want to introduce a caching mechanism. Here's a link to this. Like, can you do some quick benchmarking just to like verify that by
Yeah.
doing this we will be caching?
Okay. And earlier you had mentioned you wanted to use the /goal. Do you want to launch into that right now?
Yeah, that could be fun to do. So yeah, so the goal command, this is a Claude code thing, but it's kind of like a loop. And it just, if you give it like something that's kind of tightly scoped, it'll just run that until it achieves its goal. So I think for this, we do want to be clear like what our goal is.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe instead of implement, like understand how to implement so that it doesn't go off and start doing things.
yeah. So this is where I'm like, I'm not always sure when and how to use these things. So like, goal would be really good in my understanding to be it once we already understand the system, the goal might be like, okay, uh make sure that
Like
we're
that messages
caching.
starts like messages they're actually using caching.
Yeah, or like, I know this probably isn't the case, but imagine if it was like, we were like, "Okay, cache messages by 90%," or like get the benchmark
Okay.
from this to this, which I wouldn't even know how to word that yet because we're starting at 0, so, like, there is no benchmark.
All right. So then let's just start with I want to understand how to implement prompt caching. The guidance is here. So let's just see where it gets to. And yeah.
And then once it has that, maybe we can give it a concrete goal, like, and I'm kinda making this up, but, like, get a conversation to cost $2, right? But,
Sure.
like,
Okay.
that's a little nebulous, but, like, that's something I would imagine Goal could help us with, but in that case, it would have to, like, go through a whole sprint, which might be kinda challenging, or at least for the sake of a stream,
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
hard to do, you know?
So let me also, while this is doing its thing, um all right, yeah, while it's doing that thing, uh let me start this up. And I'm gonna log in off screen. I'm gonna sign up as a new user. Oh, this is interesting. I am getting a Visual Studio code. So we put it in this auto mode, and now it says Visual Studio would like to access data from other apps. I wonder if it
Hmm.
was hitting, I think it's hitting this.
Oh, like the source code from the gem.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually tell it don't allow for right now. Let's interrupt. Um, let's just see if it does that. Meanwhile, I am signing up. And I'm gonna, all right, bring this back over here. So we're gonna start a sprint, and I'm just gonna bring things over from here just to mirror that. Tell me what's the origin of this. Okay. So this is, now it's pivoting a little bit. So the last thing we had, I'm just gonna say using notes in a drawer full of cards, and I totally forget I even have a card. I often discover it after I've bought a thing
Oh, yeah,
and have used
exactly.
it. Speaking a little bit from personal, my personal experience with it.
Yep.
Um, okay. All right. So it's doing that. I just want to see now if we go into the console locally.
Oh, just to see if we're
Yeah,
getting
because it
the
was
same
so
result.
weird. Like, so chat. Okay, cool. So we're on the right thing. So if we do chat cost total, it's so weird. It's coming up nil here. And this is what I was finding with other conversations that I've had. So let's also ask about that. Because otherwise it's gonna be really hard to work. Um,
Yeah. Maybe you're just a power user and you get a you have a free account.
here's how prompt caching works. So cool. So let's just read through this since this is the thing we wanted. So it wraps a text block and attaches a cache control to it. So that's what we saw online. And then I interpret this, the TTL, time to live, as like how long it's cached for before it like
Yeah.
no longer. So you can cache 3 things. The system prompt, which is important because our system prompt is massive
Yep.
for each step of these phases because it is like all the details needed to actually run through that step of the discovery sprint. Tool definitions, that's less so. Like I don't think our tool calls are pretty lightweight, but at the same time, they're also like updating the artifacts. So if we're over here, um, as it starts identifying assumptions that the user has made, these will become like markdown files, and then those will get edited, and so the tool call will have things like prior text and new text, so that I could see that maybe playing in. I'm not sure how that works with caching.
Mhm.
Because like every time it's going to be a little bit different, but system prompt seems a big one. And then a message conversation. So the big stable repeated payloads are the agent instructions. Good. Which inject the whole TDD skill. Not for this part. So actually, I'm going to tell it. Is it? I think it's the discovery sprint. Sprint agent. Sprint export agent. Where are you? Let's just look at our agents. Tell me when you see it.
Yeah, what is so this the app generation agent, so critical path, all these things.
Right, these are the like individual ones. Like these map to like kickoff agent is the first thing. I am momentarily like, wait, I thought we had like a top level agent that was running this. Let's actually, sorry, because I've been away for a number of weeks. This will be a good point to like look at stuff. If we look at our chat model, so we create a step agent. I see. So it really is probably then, like it starts off with the kickoff agent.
Yeah, I think there's something orchestrating all these, but I don't think there's an actual agent that orchestrates all of them.
Yeah, it's just like it's the same agent but with new instructions. So okay. So let's just tell it only doing discovery sprints. So the first agent in play would be kickoff agent. Just want to give it that information. So caching is a prefix match. This any byte change before at a cache breakpoint invalidates it. That's an important design constraint for this app because a couple of things here are volatile. So it's still talking about app generation agent. And the original agent, the one that built apps, like pulled in all the artifacts into it. So when an artifact changes, the prefix changes and the cache is cold. So let's take a look at our initial instructions. So like we have, I don't think anything is dynamic in here. It does bring in sprint MD, and sprint MD is also instructions. Like if we look for, there's no Rubyism here. So I think we're good from this part.
Yep.
From this aspect.
So just so I understand, so part of the caching mechanism is if any of the like I'm kind of making this up here, but like if any of the messages change. So let's just imagine it's a conversation with 3 messages. We'll keep it real simple.
Sure.
System prompt, the first user message, and the agent response. If for some reason, well, I guess this is actually a real thing that could happen. So there's that conversation. It stays dormant for a couple days. We go in and change the system prompt and make a new deploy.
Mm-hmm.
Is so that would be something that would break the cache for that whole convo, and it would
That's
have
what it
it would
sounds like. I'd love to
okay,
test that like in practice, which like we could do just to see it like happen in real time.
okay.
But yeah, from what I'm seeing here, yeah, that's my takeaway too. So cool. So now that we've told it that, it is identifying, right? Kickoff agent. So the two things we looked at, the overall sprint instructions and the kickoff agent's instructions, has no per-turn volatile interpolation, right? So it's not being changed. That is staying the same. And then yeah, in test we take things out, so that doesn't. So within a kickoff agent, the prompt is byte identical on every turn while the conversation grows underneath it. So that's great. For the discovery agents, cache the system prompt. Since Anthropic renders tool system, a marker on the system block also covers the tool schemas. Interesting. Cool. So it is turning on cache true for where we start. And then, so it's saying the cache control marker will go into that. And then for the discovery path, the prompt must stay stable across turns for a given step, which it does. And it's pointing out, right, if we just start changing that prompt, then we run into, it has to reset the cache. And then each step agent is its own prompt. So this is a new prefix. So as it moves through, as it gets new instructions, obviously that's like correct. It shouldn't use the cached version. It should use the new agent, but then that'll be cached. 5-minute TTL is usually enough for live conversation. I disagree with that. I think these steps are longer. So honestly, I think caching them for, I don't even know that we need to tell it like a maximum, like just if it doesn't change, don't like why invalidate it.
Yeah.
Reviewers, so we're not using reviewers, right? So it's pointing out in the discovery phase, we're not using our code reviewers. And then verify with that, 0 across turns means the prefix is changing. When open detail, I confirm before writing it. How's the app? How the app's instructions DSL wants the rendered ERB handled back. I'm not following what it's saying here, but I think we have problems before this happens. So I want to dig into that because I think unless we see the caching and the cost happening, it's going to be really hard for us to work on it. So let's tell it that. So the RubyLLM cost helpers in production, we get values. Let's just bring that in so that it has some context. Do I still have that window open? Okay, yeah. So go up here a little bit, maybe. Let's do chat last cost. Does that bring the objects? Cool.
Does
total.
Does VS Code, does the interface you have let you easily switch sessions and like resume them?
Yeah.
Because I would say for this exploration, we might want to like my new like rule that I have for myself is anytime I'm like, oh, also, you know, like let's pause on this. It's almost like you should just start a new session because it might pollute the context with like if this is like an exploration of like, hey, why is my local setup not caching stuff and why is production like that's almost like a separate thing.
It is, although in this case, like I don't want it to not know everything about the code base and to like start making those like learnings again. And in this case, we are talking about like the helper for the cost, which is like directly related. So it's almost like, well, why isn't the cost helper working here? Like, what are we missing? That's making it different versus like this is a different exploration of like, I don't know, this thing crashes in production or something like that. Like I want it and us to understand the tooling, which is why I'm like, let's keep it in the same place.
Okay. That makes sense.
locally the same thing with a chat that has messages.
Yeah, and the nice thing is here Claude can actually access the Rails console.
Cool. So it's doing a little gem diving. No token counts or any priced component. Okay, so no token counts on the messages, tokens false, or any price components, tokens with no pricing. Pricing comes from the model record. Let me check how pricing gets populated. Okay. So no token counts on the chat's messages, or again, this is replaying what it said. Cool. So let's take a look. Honestly, I think I just want to tell it. I just want to tell it to do it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, so it is doing cool. Let's see what we got. Model ID on messages is 10, which is the foreign key and insured of the model. My lookup used the wrong column. Okay. And like while it's doing that, like if we take a look at chat model, like we have, like it's tied to a real thing. It has costs for input and output. Like it has values in its metadata that I would expect.
Right.
Like it has pricing information. The model does have pricing, yet total is nil, and 2H is the tell. It only contains cache read, cache write. Since 2H compacts, that means input and output come back nil. Yeah. Which is also what I had seen. Like if we look at right, so it's like it essentially said, well, it had input tokens, right? So this is good, and it had output tokens, and the cache is 0, so that makes sense. So it is counting it. Thinking tokens is nil, but that's probably fine. Okay. The model row has pricing, but M pricing, what is M in this case? I do not see what it means by M pricing. It's stored in a shape RubyLLM can't read. The gem express price fields directly entered, not wrapped in data values. The cache read is a false token. All right, let's see. A native reload. I'm getting a little concerned about Claude's understanding here when it goes like, actually it's this, actually it's that, actually it's that. I'm like, I trust none of you now.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you could have it go into the, like, try to not synthetically, but like go into the Rails console and invoke some of these commands, or even do it with Playwright or something, and then see if it can trace like the actual
like where
network
things break.
request. Yeah, or just like it should be able to see like the payload that we're sending to Anthropic and like what we're getting back from them. Because the cost is, I don't think this is something that's being made up app side. Like it's part of the payload from Anthropic, right? Like Anthropic should be telling us, yes, this costs 1 cent. Like, we're not just kind of deriving that through calculations,
Oh,
right?
no, I think it well, I mean, I think for RubyLLM it is, though.
Oh, is it okay.
Yeah, like, like, these are calculated, the actual tokens that were used, but then the costs are set or refreshed, whenever you load the model's database. So, like, I think it is calculating it using this cached, I think, pricing, because I imagine the pricing changes.
All that stuff is just stored on so, okay, the model metadata has that stuff, and that's being synced from Anthropic. So it could go stale, but, like, we get that from Anthropic or the gem is responsible for getting it from
Yeah.
Anthropic.
All right, well, it thinks it's found it. So chat cost per message, RubyLLM cost new tokens model. Um, the model is handed as a model info with pricing. The gem reads standard input per million. Your local row stored's pricing as that. Pinned RubyLLM 115 expects the price fields flat. The cache read is a red herring. Those are 0 only because the chat has 0 cache tokens, regardless of price. The cache prices aren't parsing either. Okay. Data values nesting is using a newer RubyLLM pricing serialization. Your local models know it was loaded by a newer RubyLLM. That's not quite true. Rerunning the load task won't fix it. So one of the things I know we do, and this is interesting, one of the things that when you first run or like install RubyLLM, it installs every possible model on Earth from all companies. And one of the things we do is we run this this rake task. And if we look at this task, so for ours, it limits to Anthropic, and then it updates the attributes. And then so we, instead of having like nearly 1,200 models available, like over here, if we do model account, interestingly, oh, that is weird. Only one. Let me try running this task and seeing what happens. Yeah, let's do that. What would it be? Bin Rails, LLM models. Is that it? Oops, sorry.
Was it load?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so now cool. So now we have 9 models. All right, now let's run that command again. Yes. Okay. Sweet.
Okay.
So I just all right, I'm gonna give it the information.
And that also confirms you were right, like, it's not pulling from Anthropic. It's being calculated.
Cool. So now we have that. So I can close the setup. We can close the shaping agent. We can close our chat. The batch tool outputs can go. We'll keep that up. Features agent, critical path, appgen, our RubyLLM config. Okay. Yeah. Cool. It wasn't a newer format. It was actually an older one, but we're gonna let Claude think it understood it correctly. So we're just gonna keep chugging along here. Okay. Although it saved a memory, which now I am concerned for. But
Yeah.
Wrap solved. Okay. Yes. So let's pick up the caching. So now that we have a reliable a reliable way of looking at it locally, if we do chat messages last, cool. So we see those tokens, and if we do cost total, we have values there too. Okay, I just want to make sure that it was all working. Let's pick up the caching again. Do you want to bring in the goal now, or do we want to just say like, let's benchmark or identify like how can we test that a caching change is caching?
Yeah, for this, I'm because it's this isn't like, well, it might be a straightforward feature, but in terms of like, I'm trying to think like, do we write a test for this and see it fail like TDD,
Hmm.
or that's one option, or do we like have it do an end-to-end verification, which is sort of like TDD, but it would like spin up Playwright or something and like kind of go through a sprint, maybe 5, 6, 7 messages, and then it could verify like, yeah, I can see that I guess there's a few things we could do. One, so we could have it do that, and then not only see if the caching attributes are getting saved, but we could also benchmark it and have it do 2 identical conversations, or as identical as they can be, because
Yeah.
it's non-deterministic, but it'll send, kinda like what you just did actually earlier, right? Like, you had production up, and then locally, you took the messages that we did
Yeah, yeah.
and put them in, and in theory, the cost should be less for that conversation.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And I
So, like,
imagine the tokens would be about the same because it's not like gonna go off and write an essay.
yeah, so that's one thing I'm, like, interested in. I don't know how it would candidly, I don't know how it would go streaming-wise, like, if this would take, like, 10 minutes of it doing it and, like, there wouldn't be anything for us to do, like, I don't know what that would look like, streaming-wise, but that personally, that's, like, what I would do if I was working on it, um, not streaming, as I would be like, "Can you benchmark this? Use Playwright to do it, verify that it's less expensive,"
Are we
something like that.
using Playwright?
So Playwright would be, a skill that you would, or a plugin that you would bring into Claude Code itself, like an
Oh, okay.
MCP. Yeah, 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 sorry, I should have specified. So, um, it would just do that for you.
All right. So, I mean, but now at the same time, like that would involve like the browser and everything. Like, I wonder if we could just have it benchmark, like create 2 scripts that we could run, and
Yep.
like see the difference. And then
Yeah.
like then maybe we try it live, because I do think you're right. Like I think on stream
Yeah,
having
us
having it do all that in the background, not as interesting.
right.
Um
Yeah, and writing the scripts would be, in theory, a lot quicker too, so
I don't know, we'll just put them in the root. What was it? Use the one that has a conversation with a prompt. And again, but with caching. I want to be able to look at the records created, see caching happening, and compare costs. All right, and just to confirm, we are briefly on main, but let's change that.
it's nice seeing some new faces in the commit history.
Yes.
Seeing some new avatars in there.
Also, I'm 1 off main, but this is a linting change, so we can probably bring it in once this is done. Actually, you know what? We can do this, is it's not creating anything yet. I feel comfortable doing this. All right, so pull down main, rebase this on main. Okay. Cool. So it is still going. Why? Okay. I'm really surprised. I thought this would just like spit this out immediately.
Yeah, I might be trying to figure out how to orchestrate everything.
I don't know. How is Claude doing this session? I feel like it's fine.
I mean, yeah, you were just critical of it a second ago, so definitely not good.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's just start simple, then like we can iterate on the scripts. I've frequently found this, that it's like try not to have it do too much. When it like gets lost, just start with the basics, get something working, and then like iterate on it.
Yep.
So let's see. Oh boy. Like it's there. It's there. I promise it's there. I literally told you, just do it.
Yeah, that is interesting. Hmm. It's interesting. So I've been working with Joel on a
Mhm.
client project, and his approach is he gives it the least amount of instructions possible, which was really strange to me, but I can understand why. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't and I don't want to speak for him, but I think his that's coming from a place of in the past, if he gave it too much instruction, it would anchor to that too much.
That makes sense.
And like all and it would anchor to it when it wasn't even relevant anymore. So I've explored that a bit with some of the stuff I'm working on too, is like if I know exactly like what file or GitHub issue or artifact it should know about, I'll point it to that. But then I try to focus more on like the outcome versus the how. But yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
results obviously vary.
No, I totally agree with that. And I've found myself I definitely go for less is more unless it's really, really struggling and then I need to like guide it. Cool. So let's just look through what we've got here. Also, is it still going? So we have to okay, let's just look at the uncached one and just see that it would work. So, oh, why so much? Okay, I feel like we can simplify this, but just to see that it works. So it's going to read the system prompt. It creates a chat. We give it the system prompt. We then ask the questions. And then we see the cost. Yeah, let's just see what happens. So caching demo uncached. I think it needs a dot. It needs like the RB.
shebang or something.
Yeah.
You could even have Claude run it, right? Like, could you tell Claude to run it and just say what the results are? Or were you hoping to just see it in the terminal just independently?
I kind of want to do it independently. Like I want to see this happening.
Or actually, I guess it doesn't need a shebang because it's a Ruby script. I think
I feel it like
because it's not ending in .sh, so I think you need to do.
I think this is what I was thinking. Like the
Right, yeah. Was
that
that
not
already there? Oh, that's
no. It was not. So that's fine. I don't want the instructions. Rails root join. Okay, we don't, right, because it's not running within Rails. So we actually just want right? Yeah. That. Also, yeah, okay, let's see where we get to now. Undefined method read. Okay. Also, I want to start just to commit it. Uncached script. I'm actually going to stash this one off for now. Oh no, wait. Oh, did I do the... Huh, I did the last one, sorry. I did the cached one. I want to stash cached.
Say that 5 times fast.
This is uncached script. Okay, and so it did the... I just want to see the changes like as we work on it or as it does. All right. Oh boy. Okay. All right, now I think it's really hard even to type. I've stashed. The cache version will ultimately use one script with a param. For now, though, it's failing. I'm gonna switch to what you suggested here. So start seeing the changes. So it's going to need to require RubyLLM.
Oh, it looks like it needed to be run with bin Rails runner, I guess, to like load in the environment.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Because I think since
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying for us that we should also then bin Rails runner the script?
Yep. Yeah, that seems to be... It's at least not throwing an error, so that seems to be doing something. Although... Oh, okay.
Cool. All right. So assistant, the caches, the output, the cost total was 8 cents, and telling us where we can find it. Sweet. I'm going to run it one more time just to see the continuity. Hope that it's about the same tokens, same cost, similar things. Cool. That fraction of the penny right there, man. This is where it all happens.
Yeah, look at that.
Why though? Oh, I see. It didn't make any changes after that point. The last thing was the file read, and that was where I committed it. Okay, cool. All right, so now cacheable. And while we're here, just momentarily, okay. All right, so now arg first is caching, or just system prompt. So cool. So it's either wrapping it here or just passing it raw, which is what we saw, and then we do that, and then we're putting out. So that seems nice. Cool. The cost dropped and input have, but cache, read, write are 0. Um, that is interesting.
Hmm.
Also, when we were looking at the last runs, okay, so input is increasing, which we would expect, right? Because like we're adding more each time.
Yes.
Like where the size of the input is growing each time. It's the original prompt plus that. Um, let's see. Okay, so what does it say here? The stored system content is 43 characters. That's the object stringified. Chat 4 is 15K. Okay, so now it's looking at the API. I want to run it also locally while it's doing a thing, but let's first. I just want to make sure we see the same behavior. So
Okay.
yeah, so the input did half just as it said, and it's climbing, which makes sense, and the cost dropped by half. But if we look at our chat, just make sure this agrees with what it said there. 0.049626. Okay, so that's good. If we look at them, so yeah, these are nil. These are nil. The last message is nil. Those are 0. Okay, yeah, so they're either nil or 0. All right, so let's come back to it here. Okay, 2LLM rebuilds the in-memory chat from the DB messages on every call and ask calls at each turn. With instructions, persists it. The content raw stringified and ever. So on each ask, the rebuilt system message reads back that 43 car garbage, which needs content raw and cache control is lost. Fixed with the cache block and the messages. Interesting. Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask it to explain that for a second because I wasn't fully following. But let's see what it did here. So originally it was wrapping the system prompt in a cache. And I think what it was saying was that even though we are putting it here internally, then when it like went to the next message, it wasn't grabbing this again, it was reloading it. And so that cache instruction was being lost. That's what I understood from what it was saying.
Oh,
Whereas here
sure.
it's saying like if we're in caching mode, yeah, so access chat rebuilds from DB messages and only reconstructs a cache control block from content raw. So the cache system has to be stored there and not pass through. Cool. So we start with a cached message. And then nothing else changes. Okay, so let's take a look. Did it finish talking? So that's pretty significant. Let's also run that ourselves. 5x or 6 times cheaper. The cache RD shows the full 8,000 token system prompt, and input drops to just the question. Cache shows 0 because the cache was warm. On a truly cold start, you'd see that. The file name is now a misnomer. It does both, sure. And the real takeaway is that caching a system prompt requires storing the block in content raw, not with instructions. Worth remembering when we wire this in the actual agents. Okay, so let's commit these two things, and we're about to run close on time, but I think we're actually at a spot where we can like prove something. So I'm gonna pull this out into the commit. So add caching instruction to the prompt itself. Now we'll discard those extra comments. We'll have it rename, and then let's run it after this. So we'll run it 2 ways. Cool. So first, not cached. We see our input starts at 8,600, goes up to 87, then 88. It cost 8 cents, and we have those messages. And now if we do it with the cache, fantastic.
And was that just the system prompt that we were caching, or was it also?
Yeah, exactly. Just the. So the only thing being cached here is the system prompt, which it said in that earlier conversation would also include the tool calls, but I'm a little hesitant to latch onto that as truth until we see it. Oh, right now. Let's amend that last commit. Okay, so with that there, I think the next step would be to like, we could try it on like in the main app right now. One thing I want to understand though, actually, let's just look at, I want to look manually at that last chat. Cool. So this is the system prompt.
That is pretty large.
So cool. So we see here cached tokens is now for that second message. So this is interesting. So trying to understand the RubyLLM. So this is us theoretically, right? This is us asking. So the user, right, asks this. So that's not
Mhm.
cached. That makes sense. And then though this is the assistant message. And so the assistant message is now going to include the previous prompt. And so that's why that then jumps up to 8293. So if we actually do a chat messages, let's look at the ID. Let's look at I just want to see sort of like all the fields, cache creation tokens, cache tokens, and then I think maybe the role.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
And then I think, and maybe the tokens. So cool. So what I'm curious about is why isn't there, I feel like we should see, so this is the cached, right? This is our cached tokens here. Why don't we see input tokens being huge when we first send it in this first message?
Yeah.
So I want to ask it that. I just want to have it run it and look at that data. Because I really would expect that first one would have, that this number would be 8293.
Yeah. And I don't get why only the assistant is getting this stuff set on it.
Token usage is a property of the response. I see, not the message. Okay. So the system message, right? There's no API call, right? Of course, we add it, but then user messages are persisted with just their content, their inputs to a call. Okay. I see. So it's essentially saying, I don't know. I'm going to ask it. Having a hard time verbalizing it. The one, I like the one where the cache is cold. For the first time, we have to send the entire prompt. Does that make sense? Like, shouldn't the first message cost a lot because it isn't cached yet?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Right, and that call does happen, but on a cold cache, it shows up in the cache WR cache creation. Not input tokens. I see. A cache prompt's first cold send is billed as a cache write. So the one giant call is cold. So the input, the cache write. Okay. And then the cache read. And then later, the cache read is the cheat. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's really cool. Did you gather that. I sort of assumed that like the per conversation was cached, but it's actually saying, if I'm reading this right, that it's going to be across every chat we create. So we could test that. First of all, let me pause, and then I have an idea.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that. So, like, we're caching the system prompt, but
Yeah, so right, so like every time we run this, right, we're creating a new chat, and if we, if we look at the factories, right, like when you create a new chat, it creates an app, and it's like not connected to any other chat. But then because we cached the prompt from one run, then it's cached for like every chat that happens. So like in the real world
oh,
production, it
got
would
it.
be like that thing holds. So if we change, so a way to see this would be if we went into Sprint MD and changed this. I don't know, but probably that might be enough. But here, let's just make that enough. So now if we run, let's run it again with caching. There it is. So our first message shows that
Okay.
because it hasn't been cached yet, because this is a new prompt, that first message writes to the cache, and that's a billable cost. But then the subsequent ones, that cache write is 0, and the cache read is the cheaper cost. Like now it's saying, I'm reading this from cache.
Got it.
And so now the cost total is 4 cents because we did incur the cost for that. But if we run it again, so a new chat is
Oh,
being
yeah.
created. Theoretically, this would be a totally new user starting a new sprint with these instructions. For this one now, the cost is going to drop to that 0.01, 015 something. And now
Oh,
everything is cached because this
that's
got
cool.
cached. Yeah, that's super exciting. I really had the wrong mental model of like I just thought it's just caching my conversation with it, and that like the next one is going to be different. But no, this is happening like I guess at the account level, the API key level. That it's saying like, oh, I know this message. It has this fingerprint, so I don't need to read it again and process it again. I can just read that
Got
from
it.
cache. So
D
that's huge.
Does that also mean in theory two people if there are
Yes.
2 database-backed messages with the same content, they will be cached? So
Essentially, if I say, are you saying something like, if I say, I'm worried about losing the data about gift cards, and you say, I'm worried about losing the data for like my pizza order, that would be cached, or that would be cached and it would like read it as I've already processed this.
well, in that case, those were 2 different things, right? One was for gift cards and one was for pizza orders, but if we both said, like, "Hello," right? Like, if we just like, would those but would if you said hello first
Mm-hmm.
in to your, in your conversation, and then,
And then we said
later
it
in the
again.
afternoon, I say hello in my conversation, is it like, "Oh, we already have hello cached," like,
So I
uh
think yes, but I also think it would do it where if we both said hello, if I said hello and you said hello, those messages. So first of all, let me back up a little. We haven't implemented it yet for the user messages. We're just
Yep.
implementing it on the server prompt, which is like the big thing, because hardly anything else is going to be really cacheable. Like, every answer is going to be a little bit different. And honestly, if you do say hello twice, or if you do say, I'm still not sure, in response to its question. Like that
Mhm.
really shouldn't be cached. That really should be, I need to evaluate this again. And that's a cheap call anyway, right? Like it's a pretty small thing. Um, but truly though, if we were caching those, then I think it would cache your hello and compare it to my hello, because that's what it's doing here with the system prompt across chats. It has no knowledge of who it belongs to. It's just saying like, I've processed the fingerprint of this message, so I don't have to read it again. Now, whether it would answer differently, that's kind of interesting. We could certainly test that. But for now, we're close to out of time, but let's have it take one quick look at where it would implement this for the system, and then we'll call it a pause there. And I know earlier you had mentioned like TDDing this, and so I kind of feel like maybe here would be a spot to TDD this. So like, I don't know. I just want to see like one where it would create it. Like, is it just going to create a check on the message? Like, is it gonna try and do it? It's not gonna do it live. So, because we don't want it to.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just gonna be, like, expecting that
Like,
RubyLLM is either configured or that, like, expect blank to call blank type of stuff.
yeah. And then the other thing I want to understand, and we'll just look this up. Let's just see what it says. So we'll hold it for an hour. But we don't want it to. Oh, that's interesting. Will it also cache? We might need to try this out. We might. I was wondering, like, what exactly is it caching? Is it just the cost, or is it part of its response essentially? Um, let's see where this got to. But I feel like testing it live would also be helpful, just to see like how it works in practice. Um, part of me thinks that what it's going to do, if we look at our tool spec, it's not that. There's a test. Do you remember where it is? Where it's like it acts like a tool. Um, does that ring a
Mm.
bell?
Yeah, I think Mateus actually helped with that, right?
Uh, no, I actually think it was something I introduced, but it was a long time ago.
Oh, real okay. Maybe I'm thinking of
Is
something
it the
else then.
reviewable spec? Review. So here's the thing. So if we like, oh, I think I know. It's like each individual. We have to look at one of the
Oh, is it like
original.
a shared, not helper, but
It was like that, yeah.
shared context? Is that what that's called in our spec?
It was similar to that. Turns the error message. It's not the assumption. It's going to be like in one of these. It's like, here we go. Okay, so okay, I see. It was for agents, not specs. Got it. Sorry about that. So we have this. It behaves like a tool agent, and if we look at the, where does that happen? It's so hard to come back to code that you haven't looked at for a long time. You're like, I remember all of this. Here. Here we go. Shared examples for tooled agents. Cool. So like in this thing, like for every tool, by just saying, all right, let me pull that up. You did point out the shared examples. So here it is. So it's given tools that all descend from the class. It registers the chat with every tool. It increments tool calls. So this is like a general thing that we define for all our tools that then the individual, I'm sorry, for all our tooled agents. So each agent can just say, I behave like a tooled agent without having to check all these things. So what I'm imagining is that similar to tooled agents. Maybe we have like shared examples for scripted agents, and like the shared example is it caches its system prompt.
Mm.
And then for something like the kickoff agent here, it would, the spec, it would say it not only behaves like a tool agent, like it behaves like a cached agent.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Okay. We are, though, kind of a bit off of time. So I just want to see. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at what it did, and then I think we'll call it here. So within chat, actually, let's look at the test. So it's in the system prompt with an ephemeral cache control marker. That we ask it, and then we expect it. We expect the cache control to be set. That makes sense. I mean, this is essentially like the best we can do. Like, as long as it's there, we're trusting that RubyLLM is going to act correctly. And so then within sprint, that was us invalid. I can just discard that one. Within chat then, so with instructions, we're now overriding that and saying we're re-adding the instructions, and then, oh, this is interesting.
That is interesting.
I'm not sure I like this. We're gonna have to study this a little bit to understand it. But for now, I feel like we're at a really good spot. To summarize what we've discovered, like we have a little helper script now that we can run to test things. And the most important thing we learned is that that caching happens across chats. So it should result in significant reduction in costs, because imagine for every message that's going in, we were sending it. Like if we look at some of the other instructions, right? Like that's a 50 line one. That one's not so bad, but the main sprint is like 230 lines. And so for all those things, which never change until we release a new version, that means like the first user through the new version, like they get the quote expensive run, but then every other user going through that, like that's going to be cached. So we need to test it some more. We need to see behavior wise, does it still act correctly, to make sure it's not like caching the response in a strange way. But otherwise, this has been super exciting. I think we did it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Steve, do you have any last thoughts before we sign off?
I'm trying to make a cache joke, but I can't think of anything right now.
All right, then. Well, with that, I'm Louis. This is Steve, who I just met. And
yeah, it was great meeting you for the first time. It's good.
Some version of us will be back next week for AI in Focus. Hope to see you there. Thanks.
Take care.